Hello, my name is Lucas Charles. I am a backend engineer on the static application security testing team at GitLab. So today we will be covering how to use customized rule sets for GitLab static application security testing. Let's first start by pulling up the documentation. So our SAST documentation here outlines both how to set up SAST as well as how to customize it for your individual project. Today, we will be looking at customizing rule sets right here. Now, the first thing here will be, we will need a project. So let's go ahead and create one. Let's go ahead and create from a template on GitLab.com. We're going to choose a Express template, and we will call this customized rule sets demo. Okay, so now that we have our project here, we're going to go ahead and add some code. We'll go to our routes and our users file and open this up in the web IDE. Now, what we're going to first need is a authentication function. So let's go ahead and write one real quick. Fetch user password from DB, it takes a user, and we will return hunter2. Let's add a to here to add an ORM later. Now we need an additional is authenticated function that will take a user and a password and return true or false, depending on the current authentication. So we're going to fetch user password from the DB using our user object, and we are going to check if that password is valid. So correct password, return true, else return false. Now let's quickly wrap our root here in this new authentication function. And we're going to pass in a user ID and params password. Move our response into the body. Okay. Now I know that we're going to also need some kind of email validation later, so I'm also just going to paste this regex up here that we're going to use. Now that's a good enough start, and once this authentication works, then we can go ahead and move on to some better code. Now let's add one more file here. We'll add the GitLab CI YAML and go back to the documentation. Now for setting up our project, we'll hit configuration here. We see this here, and we'll go ahead and copy that. We could also use auto DevOps here, but in this case, we're going to want a speedy pipeline to demo, so we'll stick with our CI configuration. So just to review our changes, we added a regex for later. We have a fetching function and a comparison function to make sure that the password we receive from our front end is correct. Okay. Let's go ahead and create a new branch, and we'll say add basic password auth. Now we have a pipeline running since we added this new CI configuration. We'll go ahead and open that. And we have both Node.js scan and eslint running because both detected JavaScript. Now, if we give these just a second, we can go ahead and click through if we want to see the progress of this job. Okay, looks like we were successful. Let's go ahead and go back to our pipeline view. We see a new security tab here, and it looks like eslint detected 2 issues, unsafe regular expression and the potential timing attack. We go ahead and click through here. We can see these here. Line 4. Just that regex we added, and for the potential timing attack, 13 through 17 here, where we're doing this comparison. Okay, so we can now see this is a low severity finding here and a high one for the regular expression. So this looks like a pretty serious issue, so we should probably deal with that one. We don't really care too much about the potential timing attack, however. So even though the severity is low, we don't want to even see this one show up. So if we go back to our SAST configuration here, we can see about customizing rule sets. Now, there's a couple ways we could go about this. Within our view, we could go ahead and dismiss this finding and never see it again. But in this case, we don't really put a lot of stock in this rule. Timing attacks aren't really a big issue. It's just an internal application. So because of that, we're just going to disable this entire rule altogether. The way that we go about that is first by going here and opening our web IDE. We're going to change to the branch that we'll be affecting here. And let's go back to the docs and see what they say. So rule set customization supports two capabilities: disabling predefined rules and modifying the behavior. This is the one that we're going to be dealing with today. So to create a custom rule set, we need to create a GitLab directory and then create a SAST ruleset TOML file within that directory. And then paste in something akin to the following in TOML format. So let's go ahead and create this directory and this file. I'm going to say new directory .gitlab. And then within this, I'm going to create a new file called SAST ruleset TOML. Okay, let's go back and let's go ahead and just copy this example and work from there. So it looks like in this example, we're customizing two different analyzers, but in this case, we only really care about eslint. So let's go ahead and drop that. Reading through this, we see for the eslint analyzer, for this specific rule set, we need to disable it. And to disable it, we need to know how to identify it. So we need to look at this identifier here. The type is eslint rule ID, and the value here is secret detect object injection. So let's go ahead and go back here, and we see our rule ID for this one is detect possible timing attacks. Let's go ahead and copy that. Paste that in here. And then we're going to commit it. And we'll say disable timing attack reporting from eslint SAST. Okay. Now let's go ahead and click the pipeline view here, and we can already see that this is firing off. Go ahead and click on that job. And wait for this to run. And it finished. Okay, let's go ahead and go back to the pipeline then. And our security tab, and we now see only the regular expression vulnerability. We are no longer seeing our possible timing attack vulnerability. Now, we could also modify this one as well. In the future, there will actually be a capability we're working on in order to customize the vulnerabilities. So if we look at our GitLab custom rule sets epic, we can actually see some additional work that we're working on in the future. In the next 1 to 3 releases, we'll be overriding properties. In this case, we will allow setting the severity directly on the rule set. In the case of something like predictable random, it will be overriding the default rule severity with a severity of low. With that capability upcoming, we will be able to modify this. And if we consider this vulnerability here to be a critical or even low, either raising or hiring that severity, then we can actually set that within our TOML file as well. And that's how to customize rule sets using GitLab SAST. Now, an additional thing that we can customize is any other identifier, really. So if we look at this one here, unsafe regular expression, we see that this has 2 identifiers, both detect unsafe regex and CWE 400. Now, CWE 400 could be used across a variety of different analyzers. So if there's a specific CWE that we don't really care about, we could customize that as well. Now, if we go back to our IDE, we can do this with a similar rule here. So we're going to copy this one And instead of disabling possible timing attacks, we're going to use CWE 400 like that. Let's go ahead and commit this change. Also disable CWE 400. And in just a second, we should see our new pipeline fire off right here. And by disabling both of these rules, we should no longer see any vulnerabilities being reported from eslint. Now it looks like we had a fail here. Looks like there is an invalid syntax in our TOML configuration. So we see the following error, duplicate tables. Let's go ahead and look back again at what we did here. Now with TOML, it looks like we are trying to override this table with itself here and redefine it. Just to double check that, we can go to TOML lint configuration checker. Let's go ahead and throw this in here and validate. It looks like that's our problem here. So let's go ahead and remove that line. And that's valid. Let's go ahead and throw this back in. Fix TOML syntax. One more time. CWE type, value 400. Okay, and let's go ahead and go back to our pipeline view. Check our security tab, and we no longer have any vulnerabilities reported from eslint. And that is how you use customizing rule sets with GitLab SAST.